Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Neurotic Knitter podcast. I'm Drew. Welcome. I am Drew in real life on Instagram. I'm Drew Jacobs 83 on Ravelry, and I'm so excited to podcast this afternoon. It has been it's been a minute. It's been a little while since I podcast. Life has just been a little bit crazy lately. Lots and lots of stuff going on. Lots and lots of travel. And I have so much to share with you guys today. I literally have like a huge pile of bags here. I wish I was better with the camera, or I could like actually set up a studio so I could like show you the madness. But every time I podcast, I always collect like all these things that I want to share with you, and I just like literally have them here in a pile. So I'm gonna be digging through them like a wild animal before long. I'm so appreciative of all of the continued support that I've received for the podcast. People continue to write and email and send me messages and comment on YouTube with positive comments. In particular, last episode I shared a little bit of my personal story, and I got some really great feedback. So thanks for being so kind. I really appreciate it. I value the friendships that I have far and wide. And one of the things that's been really challenging about living in Arkansas, which is where I'm based now, for those of you who don't know, is I found it kind of hard to connect. I have great work colleagues and really good relationships at work, but on a personal level, it's been challenging to find like friends and people to connect with. So that's actually a major reason why I'm doing this podcast. I actually had somebody ask me, it was Michelle Wong, for those of you who are in the knitting community, ask me like why am I doing a podcast? And a big reason why I'm doing it is to connect and to feel connected with other people. So anyway, really excited to get started today. A couple things at the top of the podcast. One, for those of you who follow me on social media, you have over the last couple of days seen me proclaim that 2018 is going to be the summer of the tank. So here it is. A few things about that. Number one, it's just really hot here. Like, I'm from Michigan. I'm from the north. I mean, we do have hot weather in Michigan, but living in the south the last couple of years, it's tough in the summer for me. I'm a cold weather guy. I know I'm in the minority there, but it just gets really hot. And I think I felt really self-conscious over the years wearing something like a tank top, which sounds kind of weird, but I just never felt fully comfortable in it. And I just decided, like, this year I'm just gonna wear the tank top. I'm just gonna do it. I wanna be comfortable. I don't wanna be roasting in my own juices all summer, sweating away when it's like 95 degrees, which it's gonna be 95 degrees here today. I always look out here because that's where we have our patio. You can see the sunlight coming in. So get ready for tank tops, get ready for pastiness, although maybe not so much, because now I'm gonna be able to get sun on this beautiful alabaster skin. I also guess I should talk about the fact that I do have a tattoo. That might surprise a lot of people. I actually got it last summer. I think most people who've known me throughout my life would probably not describe me as a tattoo guy. I've always wanted one, or several, and I just decided that I was gonna do it last summer. We were vacationing in Portland, Oregon, and there's an incredible community of tattoo artists and other kinds of artists in Portland. And I just decided I was gonna go for it. So I did some research via Instagram. Of course, being me, I'm like researching people, following them, like taking this very like analytical approach and like looking at their whole portfolio. I did not develop a rubric, though maybe I should have. No, I'm really happy with the tattoo I got. It's of an English rose. So we have English roses on our patio, David Austin English roses in particular. And this is of a Pat Austin rose. It was a rose that David Austin bred for his wife Pat. And it's one of my favorites. It's like a peachy orange color. So that's what I have. And I'm actually going with my partner Mike in a few weeks to Portland again in July. And I think I'm gonna get some more. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna start developing this arm into some sort of sleeve. I don't, I can't go like all the way to my wrist, though I would really like to do that. I just think for my line of work that's probably a little too much, but I'm definitely gonna at least maybe go like half. At least that's my goal. So we'll see. So yes, tattoo, tanks, here I am. It's summer. I'm really excited for this episode. So a lot of time has passed since my third episode. Third episode was like right around my birthday, end of May. I've had a ton of travel, as I've mentioned in that, I probably mentioned in that episode. I really like traveling, but I had like 3 consecutive weeks. I did DC, then I had Michigan for Plucky Knitter pop-up, which I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about today. Super excited to share with you guys. And then I had a retreat again in DC for work. And we also went to the Pioneer Women's Store in the mix of all of that over Memorial Day weekend. So it's just been crazy. 4 trips in like 3 weeks. And then I'm going to Nashville next week. So it's just like crazy. And my partner is out of town right now for Father's Day. He is visiting his parents in New York. So I was telling somebody, I think we had something like 8 or 9 trips between the two of us over the last month. It's been mayhem. But anyway, I have just tons to catch you up on. And the first thing I wanted to start with was the Plucky Knitter pop-up. So excited. And this episode is going to be a lot about the Plucky Knitter and Plucky Knitter yarns. I hope that's okay with everybody. If it's not, sorry, I'm gonna do it anyway. So Plucky Knitter had this pop-up shop, and I think I mentioned in the last episode. So the Plucky Knitter was founded in 2007. The woman who started the company is Sarah, and she's just wonderful, fabulous, very creative. I think quite possibly one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And she started dyeing yarn out of her house like many indie dyers do. And over the years, the company really grew. I became familiar with them, I think, in 2011 or 2012. I was living in Michigan at the time. It's a Michigan-based company, so I love to support them. And each year they do a number of events. It's really like 1 to 3 events. Sometimes they do a little bit more, but they've always had kind of like they call it the Shindig. It's like an annual in-person event. It's mostly been in Michigan. They did one year where they did glamping, fancy camping or glamping in Seattle. So I went out for that. But I try to catch them in person at least once a year just because it's an important community to me. It's one of my important online communities. A lot of the people that I'm friends with on Instagram and on Ravelry are plugged into that community. And I just love working with their yarns. So back up a little bit. The business has been primarily online, though they've had these in-person events. And Sarah and her family are from a small town in Michigan called Hastings. It's about an hour south of Grand Rapids. It's in West Michigan. It's a really beautiful part of the state. And I think like a year and a half ago, Sarah and her family purchased a brownstone, like a 2-story town square, like brownstones storefront. Exactly like you would picture it to be. Really, really pretty and historic. Sorry, I get dry mouth, as you guys know. It's really hot LaCroix. Today it's tangerine, and then I've got a backup lime over here. Sidebar, there's like a fierce debate going on right now on Facebook with my like work Facebook people. There's like a divide in our office. between coconut and like all other flavors. It's really not a divide, because divide would imply 50-50 coconut and citrus flavors, and it's like 10% coconut and 90% right side of history citrus flavors. But anyway, tangerine. Okay, back to Plucky. So they bought this storefront, and they don't intend to have like a store that you can just shop in like every single day of the week. I'm not sure. I mean, they're very popular, but I'm not sure that they could sustain that in Hastings. Though maybe they could. They've been using it for their like creative studios, so they have they work there during the week when they're not dyeing yarn out at the barn, which is the facility that they built to dye their yarn. And then they use some of the historic features of the building for like photo shoots for their patterns and yarns and all of that kind of stuff. Well, I think it was like maybe in February or March of this year, she announced that she was going to have her first in-person event. So inviting people in, not for a full-on shindig, which usually involves classes and lots and lots and lots of programming, but just for something kind of small. So shopping during the day, the ability to kind of explore the town, which was super, super cute. Like, you know, in the off time when you're not shopping, which was, you know, some portion of the time. And then a couple really fun evening events. One of them was a like cocktail hour hors d'oeuvres kind of event. And then the second one was really fun. It was like dinner and a movie. So they rented the floor of one of the local restaurants. They had like a big banquet hall, and they showed 2 classic movies and had like a plated dinner, and it was really, really nice. So I went to that, and it was just amazing. I got to connect with my good friend Tracy Kane, who probably will appear on this podcast at some point, as well as many other of my Ravelry Plucky people, you know, people who I communicate a lot with online and got to see in person. And I have to tell you, part of the reason, again, going back to connection, part of the reason why I make a priority to go to these events, to travel, to go to knitting things, is to feel that sense of community. I've mentioned before, it's a big part of why I knit, is I love the people, and I love interacting with the people, both on knitting stuff and sharing ideas and thinking about like, what are you knitting next and what yarns are you working with and all of that good stuff, but then also just connecting on like a human level with people who are passionate and just great people. So it started on Thursday. Thursday was crazy because I traveled. Well, it didn't start on Thursday. I started to get there on Thursday. The travel was crazy. Work was really crazy that day. I was like a little like maniac running through the airport, like answering emails with one hand, like shoving fries in my face with the other, like trying to like multitask and get work done so I could focus on yarn stuff Friday and Saturday. I succeeded with that. But anyway, it started in earnest on Friday. We all lined up outside like true crazy fans. And it was just beautiful. Haley and Sarah did such an amazing job, and the whole Plucky team did a great job. There was an insane amount of yarn to buy, just insane. I went a little bit overboard. That doesn't surprise anybody who knows me. But anyway, hung out and just had a great time. So I want to share with you some of the things that I got. Getting into knitting, and I'm trying to make knitting segment earlier in my podcast, at least for this one, so you guys don't have to wait till minute 45 to hear about all the yarn stuff. So I went a little crazy, as I mentioned, but I want to show you. This is going to take a long time because I bought a lot of yarn, but okay, let's get into it. So, and this is going to be, I mentioned in my episode 3, I'm doing 7 skeins, so 35 skeins for 35 years of living, 7 skeins per episode over 5 episodes. I actually might change that a little bit because I think I have more than 7 skeins from Plucky. Actually, I know that I do. I have like way more than 7. So anyway, I'll figure it out. You guys don't have to do the math. I'll do the math, but I'm going to show you some fun yarn. So, and I'm like, I have these bags tied up, so I actually don't even know what it is until I open it. So one thing that they premiered, so usually at these events, one of the fun things that they do is they premiere a new base. So meaning like a new fiber base. So like a new yarn to knit with that they dye. And for those of you who aren't knitters, you can get all kinds of yarn. I mean, you can get acrylic yarn, you can get cotton yarn, you can get yarn with wool, you can get yarn with silk, nylon, I mean, and many mixtures, cashmere, which is what I'm going to show you. So she premiered a new yarn. It's called Galore, G-A-L-O-R-E. Spelling is not my strong suit, guys. You just have to pretty face, not a good speller. Maybe somewhat pretty face. Maybe. Anyway, but Galore. And Galore is 670 yards of 100% cashmere. Whoa. I mean, first of all, cashmere is not cheap. So it's a big time indulgence. And generally when cashmere is sold, it's sold in put-ups of like 200 yards. So to have a 670 yard skein of cashmere is like a little bit insane. But also really great because it's a fingering weight. So it's a very lightweight, thinner yarn. And it's great for big shawl projects, and it's great for scarves and any kind of like lacy work. If you haven't experienced cashmere before, one of the benefits of it is that it's very, very light, like cloud-like light. Like just, I mean, you just throw it on and it feels like you have nothing on. And it's very warm. So it's really great for winter because you're not bogged down with all these like bulky things, but you still can stay super warm. Let's get to it though. So I got I got some Galore, and the first colorway I got is a colorway called Indian Summer. And I got 2 skeins because I'm really bad. Or really good, depending on what you think. But look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? I've got some little fuzzies from my bag on it. I hope you guys can see. It's amazing. This is like a red-orange. It's not a color that I normally select for myself. I'm more of a cool red guy. But it's just beautiful. And I have to thank my friend Amy. She had this yarn, and I was so bummed because I love this color, and I wasn't going to be able to get it because they had run out. And she changed her mind, and she handed it directly to me, so I could purchase it. So I'm really, really excited about it. Yeah, Indian Summer, Galore. So that's one thing I got, or one color, I guess I should say. Okay, let's look at this bag. Ooh, what could be in here? Ooh, okay. So the other thing that they've been doing lately at the Plucky Knitter is they've been doing a lot of gradients. This is something that a lot of yarn dyers are doing these days. And there's just tons of applications, different things you can do with the gradient. For those of you who are non-knitters, what a gradient is it's a set of skeins of yarn that go from light to dark within one color family, or are just like a set that go well together from, you know, one color to the next. That probably wasn't a great description, but I got a gradient. They're doing 5 color gradients right now. So this is a gradient that's called Ship Shape, kind of cool. I love teal, so I was really excited about this. And you can see it starts here and it goes kind of around the circle to dark, you know, lighter to darker. And this is on Snug Fingering. This is one of my favorite bases that they have. This was one of the things, like going into the pop-up. One of the things about Plucky Knitter pop-ups and shindigs, you never know what they're gonna have, but they often ask people, like, what would you like to see? Because they can't dye everything for these pop-ups. There's just way too much. They have like probably over 100 colors in their portfolio, and then they have probably about 30 bases. So there's no way that they would dye every color in every base. But this gradient kit was one that I was really like wanting to get. So I was really excited to have the ability to get that one. What else? So let's look at the next bag. I know, I went a little overboard, guys. You can totally tell that I like went crazy. I'm like gonna have to be on a little bit of a yarn diet until Rhinebeck. I'm going to Rhinebeck this year. So anyway, I'm gonna have to like save my pennies and recover a little bit from this like splurgy splurge. So I got another gradient. So I wasn't intending on getting this next one, but it was just too beautiful to pass up. You know, sometimes with hand-dyed yarns and with a lot of indie dyers, you're ordering online all the time, so it's tough to see in person the yarns. You're kind of taking a leap of faith and you're ordering based upon photos online. And so when you get the opportunity to touch and feel and be in person, sometimes you just happen upon something you've got to have. So I got this one, and I want to put it close up because it's grays, and so sometimes grays are hard to see, but it's just beautiful. It's like a real, I don't know what you would call it, like a brown leaning gray. This is called the morel. I think that's for like morel mushroom maybe, of the story, the morel of the story. Get it? The moral of the story, morel. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Morel? I don't know. All I know is that it's beautiful. This is again Snug Fingering. I love that. I love that base. I'm trying to get more of that yarn, because even though I love it, I don't have a ton of it. I've got a lot of the Primo Fingering, which is the MCN. This is a cashmere, alpaca, and wool. So the alpaca makes it really soft, the cashmere makes it really soft, and the wool gives it kind of like strength and makes it so it's not so fuzzy. So morale of the story. Okay, there's still more. Eep. I think, yeah, okay, I think this is one of the last ones. Yeah, this has got a bunch in it. So, okay. So I ended up getting 2 colors of galore. So I showed you the Indian Summer. I also got Overcoat, which is this beautiful like navy, kind of classic navy blue. I love it. This is actually what I had first, and it was going to be the only one that I got. I got 2. But Amy brought me that Indian Summer and I had to have it. So I'm now going to be eating like ramen noodles for the rest of my life because I have a cashmere problem. But anyway, Overcoat. Really excited about that. It's just glorious. And then one of the last things I purchased was yarn to make this new pattern that they have called Shoot the Moon. Shoot the Moon is the name of the pattern. It's a Plucky Knitter pattern. Sometimes with the events as well, they do like a kit. So they'll have like a special pattern, and then they'll have yarn to support the pattern available to purchase. Smart business person. That's like a good way to get people to buy yarn, I think. And Shoot the Moon is a really cool pattern. It's a lot like the Sky's the Limit, which I think I showed you guys maybe like episode 1 or 2 that I finished, where it's something that's knit in sections. So you have like, you know, a section of garter, a section of chevron, a section of lace. And I love patterns like that because they keep me going, they keep me interested. It's not just like the super long slog. So I got this amazing purple for part of it. This is Primo Fingering. It's like this electric purple. It's amazing. I saw it and I was like, oh my god, I've got to build the project around this because I love purple and I love bright. This color is called Knee Deep in the Hoopla. Knee Deep in the Hoopla. See? So I got a couple skeins of that because you needed it for the pattern. So I actually have 3. The other one's wound up, so I didn't bring that one up here. And then you use some smaller skeins, some mini skeins to knit the pattern with as well. So I got this this kit, and I don't know if you can tell, but there are 4 distinct colors, like a white, I guess it's like a light silver, darker silver, and then like another like a darker gray and a black. So these will go together. Like this will be the main color in the pattern, and then these will be accent colors. I thought that they went really well together as a combination. When I started formulating the colors for this particular pattern, I was actually doing the opposite. I was thinking of like more neutral colors for the main colors and then pops. And I decided to flip that. So I'm gonna have a shawl that's gonna be like really bright with more muted pops. So we'll see. I'm really excited to make it. I actually started it, but then the needle size they recommended just didn't work well for me. They said to knit it on a 6, which is I think a pretty big needle for fingering weight. Usually I knit like on a 4 or 5, but I trusted the pattern, and I knit a little ways with the 6, and I was just like, this fabric is too thin for my personal taste. So I'm gonna go down to a 5, and I'm gonna try it again at some point. So that was it. So those are my purchases from Plucky Knitter. I was bad. Like, that was a lot of yarn. Way more than I intended to spend. I didn't realize that I would go so crazy with that cashmere, but it's really nice. This is like the softest. I'm just like, you're so soft. And I'm really excited to make something with that. The other thing that I wanted to show you guys, still on Plucky Knitter, is when you attend their events, a lot of times they give you swag, which means like free stuff. You actually paid, so Friday night for the hors d'oeuvre hour, cocktail hour, and then Saturday night for the movie, you had to pay, you had to buy like a ticket. But included in the ticket was like all of your food and drink, and then a prize or like a swag thing. So for the cocktail hour, they gave us this cute little bag, which says, it says hashtag when in doubt, knit a hat. And it's like a really small little bag. Very high quality. It's from Delicue, which is one of like a bag maker within the knitting community. Really, really great products. And they gave us a skein of this brand new base that they premiered called Beauregard. And the colorway is Nesting. This is a 60% yak and 40% cashmere blend. It's like really, really soft. And I can hold it up. It's a little bit fuzzy. And I think it's like a DK weight. It's a huge skein. There's 300 yards on here. Way more than enough for a hat. Probably could even get 2 hats out of this, I would say. You know, I gotta say, I'm not crazy about the like super neutral color, but it's also good to have neutrals because it's a good gift. Like, it's a good gift giving kind of color. I don't know. The jury's out on this one for me. I was so thankful to get something, of course. Like, I'm not gonna turn away like free yarn, but I'm not sure what I want to make with this yet. So I got that. That was from Friday night. And then Saturday night, gosh, they just went crazy on Saturday night. So they gave us these beautiful duck bags from Bagoo. And this, you can't really, I don't know if you can decipher this, but it's like knitting needles. And it looks like a piece of fabric. And it has all of these different colorways. This is like cursive writing, and it has all these different colorways from the Plucky Knitter. Super cute, and a great gift for us like crazy plucky people. And then even more, there were prizes inside the bag. So it's a bag, and then, you know, all these things that they gave us, which were really cute. So one was, I should have opened this up before. So it comes in this little box. And it's a little enamel mug. And it says, "Twill, always twill," which is one of their most popular neutral colorways. Plucky Knitter, Plucky Knitter. And it's one of those like camp mugs. See, it's like an enamel, like one of those like kind of camping things. Super cute. So I was really excited about that. And they gave us a pattern book from, I think this was from a 2015 winter collection. So there's like, I don't know, like 12 patterns in here, like all of these patterns to make. There's probably like 3 or 4 that I would actually make in here because a lot of these are ladies patterns, but like still, who doesn't like free patterns and a beautiful book? And oh, and then they gave us this really cute little pin. I'm gonna put it really close so you can see. I don't know if it's gonna show, but it's like a little old-fashioned movie camera, and it says Plucky Double Feature Pop-Up 2018, so like a commemorative pin. So yeah, that's all the stuff from Plucky. It's insane. Like I brought my big suitcase because I'm smart. This is not my first rodeo. I was like, okay, it's only like a 4-day trip, but I'm gonna bring like the giant suitcase just in case. And then I went overboard, so it was good that I brought it. But yeah, it was really fun. If you ever have the opportunity to go in person and do one of the Plucky Knitter events, totally do it. They're so nice, very welcoming. New people are always welcome. It's a lot of people who have been going for years like me, but I'm always excited to meet new people and to embrace them. So that was one of the big things that's happened since the last podcast. I am working on figuring out, so kind of switching gears a little bit and getting into some things that I'm working on knitting wise. One thing that I wanted to kind of pose as a question to all of you out there is what to do with these galore skeins. So these are 100% cashmere. It's like, I think, you know, I have 670 yards per skein. So I have like 1340 in each color. And so I was thinking, I have 2 patterns that are like top of mind that I've searched and searched. I've been looking on Ravelry to try to figure out like what I'm gonna make out of these. That would be really good. And one of the patterns that I'm thinking of is one called Sunwalker, and it's by Melanie Berg. Melanie Berg is a really prolific designer. Many of you are probably familiar with her patterns. Sunwalker is really huge. It's got like a lot of seed stitch and then like a big lace, kind of open lace border. So that's one possibility. The other is called Whiskeyfied. Also, that one is also by Melanie Berg, and it's got like some chevron shapes in it. So those are the 2 that are like my top contenders, but if you guys have patterns that you love, let me know. I'm not interested in a lot of lace. That's like the one thing I'll say. Like I don't have the appetite to do like a lot of lace or cable work because it's just too fussy. I don't know, maybe I'm just lazy, it's possible, but I don't want to have to work too hard. I just want to like be able to enjoy the yarn and have something really beautiful. So anyway, we'll see. Still thinking on it. The gradients, I have no idea what I'll make with those. But yeah, we'll see. So moving into some of the projects I'm working on, and one that I've kind of finished, almost finished. So excited to share with you that Stevie, which I have been working on since the podcast began, is off the needles. You can see that I still have a ton of ends to weave in, and I need to block it. But I'm so pleased with how it turned out. It's ginormous, and it's going to be even more ginormous once I block it, which means, like, for those of you who don't knit, it means you soak the fabric in some water. You kind of, it's like a process by which you're kind of washing it, but then also it kind of evens the fabric and smooths the fabric out. I'll wash it and then I'll kind of pin it out on a board and then let it dry as it's pinned out. And then what's very cool about this pattern is you have this edge here, which again, I knit this in, that's twill. So back to that mug that was twill always twill. This is the beautiful twill color. And what you do is you apply fringe to the edge. And what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to use the rainbow colors, just the colors themselves, so no twill, and have like a rainbow fringe. It's going to be really wild. I'm really like so excited for it. And it's like perfect timing. It's Pride Month. I'm not like a big Pride parade guy, if I'm being honest. I'm not like a big club party guy. It's just not my scene. But I am gay, and I am happy and proud to be gay. So this is a way I can show my pride and kind of channel it in my own way. Again, the pattern for this is called Stevie, like Stevie Nicks. You should knit it. It's so great. You just need 5 colors, so you can use like a gradient like I was showing you earlier if you've got that in your stash, or you can use any 5 colors that you just love. You could do rainbow like I did. You can, I mean, whatever you want. I'm not the police. Do what you want. Do what feels right. You need, so those 5 colors, and you can just use any standard fingering weight skein. I think you need like around 200 yards. It just varies on the placement. Some of the colors that you have towards the end you're going to need a little bit more of. And then you need at least 3, but probably 4 skeins of the solid color. I literally eked it out with 3. Like, I was like texting friends being like, oh, this isn't gonna work out, and I like just by the skin of my teeth got it in with 3. So that means you should get 4, because it could go terribly wrong if you don't. So I finished that, which I'm really excited about. And in the meantime, what I did is I cast on a new pattern. So a couple of my friends from Plucky and I started like a little impromptu knit along for a pattern by Cassie Monksguard, one of my dear friends, one of my best friends, called Cazadero. So it's Cazadero, Cazadero. And you can find it on Ravelry. And this is what it looks like. It's gonna be like a big shawl scarfy thing. And it's super simple. It's just like some slip stitches and then a whole bunch of garter. It has kind of an interesting shape. You like, in the end, you end up like blocking the bejesus out of it to make it, to make those slip stitches really pop. So like, you can see here, if I pull on the fabric a little bit, it really makes those kind of crisp and stand out. And so you'll do that with the shawl when you block it. I'm using some yarn from my stash that is departed. It's gone, like they don't make it anymore. It's actually from the Plucky Knitter, shocker. It's called Traveler Erin. It's 65% merino, 20% silk, and 15% yak. It's really beautiful yarn. And it's in this like acid green. I love, I call them scums, like a scummy color. So like any kind of like green, slime, swamp, colored green, moss, like all of those greens that are like kind of like that, I really like. So I'm making it out of this, and I'm really excited. It's been a really fun knit. I've been telling everybody that it's what I call like a soothing knit. So if you just want to like kind of be mindless, but you want to have just like a small bit of something to keep you interested, it's a great pattern for that. So Cazadero, C-A-Z-A-D-E-R-O by Cassie. So I'm working on that. That's my primary thing. The other thing that I'm thinking about in terms of projects lately is which unfinished objects I'm going to finish, as well as some sweaters. So I'm going to Rhinebeck this fall. For those of you who are unaware, Rhinebeck is it's one of the biggest yarn festivals. It might be the biggest yarn festival in the United States. It takes place in the Hudson River Valley in New York in October every year, in Rhinebeck, New York. It's actually called New York Sheep and Wool, but everybody kind of refers to it as Rhinebeck. And one of the things about Rhinebeck is you're supposed to knit a sweater. You're supposed to knit or several sweaters that are really beautiful and then wear them. And all the knitters wear their sweaters, and it's like a thing. It's called like knitting your Rhinebeck sweater. I'm not the best with sweaters. They actually give me a little bit of anxiety, hence Neurotic Knitter. They like bring out my neuroses because it has to fit. Unlike a scarf or a shawl or even a hat where you have some flexibility and it could be like a little small and it would be okay, or it could be a little big and it could be okay. With a sweater, it's got to fit. I mean, you still do have a little bit of that flexibility, but you know, if it goes wrong and it's too small, you've spent a ton of time knitting something that doesn't fit, and that's not good. And also you don't want to be like wearing like a muumuu. So I have a sweater that I finished in January. It was the Marled Mania sweater. I should have brought that up here. I'm going to show that on the next podcast for sure. Stephen West pattern, really beautiful. Would highly recommend it. I actually finished that one. I started another Stephen West sweater out of his sweaters book number 2 pattern book that came out recently. That's in progress, and I want to show it to you. Now, some people might misunderstand this next comment as me being a hater, but there's some weird things about this pattern. So it could be me. I don't think it's me. I think there's something really wrong, like not really wrong, but I think there's something wrong with the pattern. But anyway, it's called kangaroo rollover, like kangaroo pullover. And it's this, gosh, I gotta back up. It's hard to see it, but like you're holding 2 yarns together, 2 DK weight yarns together, and it's like a pullover, and then there's like a pocket on the front. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's like the part that's angled. It's like you put your hands in like a kangaroo pouch. And I'm really far along. I mean, I've knit a ton. I've knit the front and the back and the sides. I'm running into some trouble on the inside. There's just some weird construction thing that, again, I think is not right with the pattern, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make it work. Tim Gunn, make it work moment, because I'm like 75% done with this thing. So I've gotta finish it. And I'm committed to finishing it. It's really heavy, so that's gonna be interesting for me because I'm always really hot. Tank top. So hopefully it's really cold at Rhinebeck this year, but I've enjoyed the pattern. It's really, outside of the little snafu with kind of being stuck at the moment, it's been a really enjoyable pattern. It's just like a lot of garter stitch, and you can use your stashed DK weight yarns to hold together. And you can do something really flashy like I did, or you can do something very simple like they have an example that they knit up that Steven knit up that was just like black and white with like some gold accents. So you can go any direction with it. I'd still recommend it. I'm gonna figure out a way to get past the part that's a little tricky, and maybe I'll talk about that on my next podcast about how I did that. So I'm gonna work on that one. And then I have two other sweaters that I'm working on, or that I'm thinking about for Rhinebeck. One of them is one I already have in progress. It's called Tamarack. Is it Tamarack? Is that right? Yes, Tamarack. I should have brought that up here too. So I'm gonna bring both that and the Marled Mania next time, but it's this really beautiful, almost like tunic length, it's like a longer length, almost like a coat length sweater with a lot of texture and pockets. And I'm making it out of Brooklyn Tweed's Quarry, which is the, it's the bulkier base that they have. I love Quarry. It's really, really great. In fact, let me just grab, I'm gonna grab really quick a skein of the yarn I'm using for that sweater. So hold on. Okay guys, as you can see, this is like impromptu moment on the podcast. Here it is. Okay. Thank you for hanging with me. Okay, so Tamarack. This is the yarn I'm using for that one, and it's this beautiful red. And Brooklyn Tweed yarns are just great. So, you know, they're not as soft as a lot of the yarns. That's the one thing that you're just gonna know right off, like straight out the gate. You know, you're gonna pick it up and you're gonna go, oh, I don't know. It's not that soft. Two things I'd say about that. Number one, it gets much softer when you block it, like exponentially softer. It's still gonna be a little scratchier because it's kind of like a tweedy yarn. And that gets me to my second point, which is it has all of these beautiful striations and just changes in the color in like every skein. See those bright spots right there? Like right here? I mean, it's awesome. It creates a really beautiful fabric. And I knit mica sweater out of Quarry last year or the year before. That was a Fair Isle one, and it's just beautiful. I think it turned out really good. It's really big on him. That's the only thing that, you know, it's too big, but he really likes it still. It's kind of oversized. So anyway, Tamarack, that's one I'm thinking about. And Tamarack is also available for ladies. So ladies, if you're interested in Tamarack, there's a pattern for both men and for women. So it's a good one. It's basically like a coat. I mean, it'll be like very, very warm. The other one that I'm thinking about is one called Whiskey Creek, the Whiskey Creek pullover. It's by Amy Christophers. I don't know, Amy something. Whiskey Creek pullover, and it's got this. It was in Interweave, I think fall 2017, I want to say, and it's got like a shawl collar that's out of garter, and I'm gonna do that one out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and I haven't decided what color, either navy or plume, which is like a purpley red. And then one other one that I'm thinking about is the Harvest Cardigan. Lots of people that I have known have knit that one. It's just like a basic cardigan. It's from Tin Can Knits. It's one of their like learn to knit patterns, so it's very simple construction, though it does have a provisional cast on, which I normally like avoid those at all costs because I hate them. But it's a real simple cardigan that's got like a band that starts up at the neck and then goes down the sides. So those are the three I'm thinking about. Obviously, I probably won't be able to knit three, but soon I'm going to be turning my attention to getting ready for Rhinebeck and making sure that I have enough time to have a couple sweaters that I can wear there, so I'm like not a total schlub, you know? So yeah, last thing on knitting. See, I've spent a lot of time talking about knitting this podcast, which I think is good. Less life stuff, though I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And again, we're going to have more than an hour-long podcast, so sorry, America. I think that's like my thing now. It's like, if you want 12-hour-long podcasts, hang with Drew. So I am continuing my trend, my practice, my confession, to show you unfinished objects. I showed you one, which was the Cazadero. That one's actually active, so it's not really like a naughty, unfinished project. And that one was out of Traveler Aran, and so that made me think about this other pattern that I have that I'm also knitting out of Traveler Aran. And this color, gosh, what is this color called? I don't even remember, because it's been so long. Oh, Smitten with the Mitten. Smitten with the Mitten. This was a color that the Plucky Knitter did on well, actually across bases for one of their shindigs a long time ago. Isn't that beautiful? The complexity of this color cannot be well represented on the screen, but it's really, really pretty. And I'm knitting this like shawl scarfy thing called Paris Toujours. I'm probably butchering that because I took German. And it's really pretty. Again, it's enough. I'm so bad. Like I start things and then I put them to the side and then they go into obscurity, never to be seen again. But this is by Isabel Kramer. She has a lot of really pretty shawl patterns, and I need to get back on this one because it is truly beautiful. I think the one thing that hangs me up is there's a lot of lace, and I'm not a big lace guy. This is such that I think it's like unisex enough, and the yarn is very masculine. So, I think it's gonna be really beautiful when I finish it. But I wanted to show this today as like one of my naughty projects. It's also got this really, I love like a good I-cord border. It's got this nice little I-cord border. So yeah, that's my naughty project. Something that I should probably finish sometime soon. The pattern is actually really great and it's very simple, and easy to kind of pick up and put down. As you can tell, I put it down for a while. But that one was called Paris Toujours. So that's it for knitting for this podcast. I now have an idea for episode 5. I think episode 5 I might pull together some of the sweaters that I've got both finished and in progress to show you guys. That might be kind of a fun segment. I haven't knit a ton of sweaters, but the ones that I have knit I think have turned out really cool. So I'll share with you next time on that. Okay, so a couple of other like life-related updates as we wrap up today's podcast. So first is Drag Race. Spoiler alert, get ready. If you have not watched the episode this week, spoiler alert, you're gonna wanna like advance to maybe minute like 56 or something. I'm totally guessing on that. But we're down to the final 4. They eliminated nobody, which I'm really excited about. I love when that happens. It's now down to Asia O'Hara, Cameron Michaels, Eureka O'Hara, and Aquaria. What's interesting is it took me a while to get into the season. I think like once Vixen was gone, I liked the season like better already. So I think I kind of think about the season like, you know, with Vixen and without Vixen in like kind of 2 segments. In the with Vixen segment, I was just like, too much drama, she's mean and nasty, I don't like her, and it kind of made me not like watching the show. As the season has progressed, I have become more and more, I've liked the queens more, and the ones that remain, the 4 that remain, I think are all really good. I'm kind of like Team Eureka and Team Cameron. and kind of Team Asia. I really like all of them. I think Aquaria is a little bit young. And I don't know that she has the personality to be the next drag superstar, in my personal opinion. Though she's served really good looks and she's won the most challenges. So statistically, she may win. I always like queens that have like a heart of gold. That's like the #1 thing for me. So I'm drawn to Cameron. Cameron actually has probably statistically like the lowest performance, but she's persevered. She's a fierce lip singer. She's won 3 Lip Sync for Your Lives. So that's not insignificant, right? And she's quiet, which I actually really like that, because I feel like every single Drag Race superstar that's come through has always had this like big bombastic personality. And, you know, in the gay community, like there are lots of really shy people too, or quieter people, or more reserved people. So I don't know. I'm kind of pulling for her a little bit. I like Eureka. Eureka's like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. She's like super extra, like real loud personality, like, you know, physically very like a large presence. So, but I really will be happy if any of those 4 win. I'm like, now I'm just kind of like watching and kind of like, I like all these people. So we'll see. And Drag Race was renewed for an 11th season. So keep it coming. I'm so glad that that happened. It's like my favorite show. I never want it to go away. Like some people are like, you know, with certain programs, they're like, oh, it should end before it gets bad. I'm like, let's just keep it going forever. Like, let's just keep it on. Like Law and Order. Law and Order's been on for like 30 years. Like, let's just keep Drag Race going on for 30 years, maybe. So that's Drag Race. What else? Work. I talked a little bit about that at the beginning. One interesting thing happened. So I went to a retreat in DC. Our team is, so my job, we have 4 offices. Bentonville, Washington, DC, Denver, and Jersey City, which is right outside of New York City. And then we have a whole bunch of people who are in remote offices out of their homes across the country. So a lot of our work every week is virtual. I spend a lot of time on calls and on video conferences. So usually like 2 or 3 times a year we get together in person to meet. And so we had that opportunity in June, and we went to Washington, DC to the foundation office there. It was a really great experience. We spent a lot of time talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it was wonderful to kind of like connect with my coworkers who I really love. But one of the funniest things happened at the airport. So I'm sitting at the airport, you know, I'm getting ready. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably on my phone, like checking Facebook or something. I'm like looking down, and you know, you know, at the airport they've got all those seats, and so it's kind of like rows of seats. And so I'm looking down, and I look up, and I see Bernie Sanders, like, I don't know, like 2 rows in front of me, like very close to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Bernie Sanders. And he looks exactly like you would expect him to look. Like his hair is like a little disheveled. He looks kind of frazzled. He's like on his little device, like looking frazzled. He's with this, what must have been one of his aides. And she's like scanning the room continuously. Meanwhile, I'm like holding my phone up like this, like trying to make it look like I'm like looking at my phone, but I'm really like snapping pictures of him like some sort of crazy person. I do that all the time, by the way, with celebrities, not with like regular people, but celebrities, I'm like, boop. So I did that. I posted that on social media. It was funny because I'm really shy, and so my friend Tracy, who's a big Bernie fan, was like, go over there and say hi to him and put me on FaceTime, and I want to talk to him. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm just gonna sit here and take my picture and just enjoy seeing him from afar. But people were going up to him and taking photos with him, and he was being really great about it. It's funny, he got up and he went to kind of like go board the plane, but then I guess there must have been some sort of delay. So then he came back and he literally sat like right behind me. So you know how those seats are like facing opposite directions and they're all like in one kind of thing. So he was sitting right behind me, so I like went like this, and I got a picture of his bald spot. I don't know why. I just thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, I saw Bernie Sanders. I'm not a big, like, I'm not going to get into my politics, but let's just say I would not have voted for him. I'm not in his camp. I'm not a supporter of his. You know, I work for the Waltons. Think about the things he said about the Waltons. You know, like, I'm not going to get into the politics, but I'm not a supporter of him. But it was cool to see him. So that happened. Coming up, really excited. I'm going to Nashville. I'm going to see some of my Nashville people. I'm going to try to do a podcast from Nashville if I can convince my Nashville friends to join me on the podcast. So that might be my first one that I do with other people in a kind of an interactive setting. I think we might just sit and knit and chat and do a podcast that way. Nashville holds a special place in my heart. I lived there 2 times. I'm going for work. There's actually a conference that I'm attending there, but we've built in a little bit of time. Mike's gonna come with me, and so are our 2 dogs, Dogan and Oscar, so that'll be really fun. It'll be a quick trip, but we'll get to do some Nashville things that we really like, so I'm looking forward to that. One thing that I wanted to talk about as we wrap up is we went to the Pioneer Woman store recently. So it's so funny. I live in Northwest Arkansas. The Pioneer Woman lives in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, which is about 3 hours away from where we live. And so last year in 2017, over Memorial Day weekend, we went out there. I was like, I've got to go. I love her. I've been following her blog for years. I love her show. I love her recipes. I know she's, it's interesting. I never realized that she was kind of like a dividing, not dividing, but like some people just don't really care for her. I've always really liked her, but to each their own. But I was so excited when I got to go in 2017 to visit, because in Pawhuska she has what's called the Mercantile, and it's a storefront where there are Pioneer Woman products and then other products that she's curated, and it's mostly like housewares, home decor, dishes, cookbooks and glasses and hand towels and all kinds of stuff like that. So we went in 2017, we got a bunch of stuff, which was really fun. And in 2017, we got to go out to the ranch. So for those of you who watch the show, it's where she films the show. And only certain weekends do they do tours of that. And it's completely free. You can go out, and it's actually on the ranch where they live. And it was so cool. They own like 100,000 acres, which is a lot of land. And so you drive all the way out to the entrance, and then you get to the entrance and you drive like, it's gotta be 2 miles or 3 miles into the land, and then that's where the ranch is. So I got to like be at the counter where she cooks, and I like took all these cute photos of like me like pretending like I was the Pioneer Woman. It was really fun. So this Memorial Day weekend, we were trying to figure out, should we do something? Should we go somewhere? And we're like, let's go to the Pioneer Woman again. It's fun because we go and we stay in Tulsa, which is like one of the bigger cities. Not really big, but for us it's big. There's a great pizza place that we like in Tulsa, and then we drive out we stay overnight, and then we drive the next day to go to Pawhuska to visit the store. So we did that. And I hadn't realized, it didn't register in my mind that at the same time, the exact same weekend last year, we had gone out there again. So I guess it's going to be like an annual Memorial Day tradition, our pilgrimage to the Pioneer Woman. I wanted to show you guys, so we didn't get a ton of stuff this time. We primarily just went for the experience of just going somewhere, but we did get a few things. We got a cutting board, which we desperately needed, and we've needed it for like 3 years, and we couldn't we couldn't decide. It was like a Goldilocks situation. We're like, this one's too small, this one's too big, this one's, you know, we were like hemmed and hawed about it. We found a perfect one. We bought a bread box, which is like a really weird thing, but it was really cute, and we just decided to get it. And then we got this pillow, which I am in love with. Look at that. How cute is that? It's got hot pink trim on it, which I'm loving. And it's like a little cute cow with a little crown of like flowers. So pretty. We actually, the funny story about this pillow is we bought one in 2017 that is a buffalo, like a bison, and it's a similar style. It looks just like this, except for this part is a buffalo, and he's got like more of a rainbow kind of look to him. So we got this cute little pillow, and it's up here in our like office / craft studio. So we did that. That was really fun. Other things that are going on with me right now, as I close out and wrap up, I'm thinking about getting a new recliner. I have this 1.5 chairs that I use for knitting, and it's from West Elm, and it's like big and schlumpy. Like, I like it, but I don't know. I think I want something more like upright and something that's gonna like give me more support as I'm knitting away. I find like the 1.5 chairs, I'm like, you know, slouched over and hunched over. So I don't know. I'm thinking about that. The problem is of course we don't have a West Elm here in Fayetteville. The closest one is in Tulsa, our big city. So I might actually go out there tomorrow. Mike's traveling this weekend. Today's Saturday, so I might actually go out there. It's like an 1.5 hours to go. And I might sit in some chairs and try some different ones out and order a new chair. It's gonna be a recliner because I'm an old man and I've got to have somewhere to put my feet up. The other thing is we're trying to keep the dogs off the furniture, and it's really hard to keep the dogs off of the 1.5 chairs because it has this giant ottoman and then it has the chair itself. So literally what I've been doing recently is I've been flipping the ottoman up to like block the 1.5 chairs, and it looks really ugly. If I got a recliner, I could just put a couple pillows in the recliner and it would keep the dogs off of it. So I'm thinking about that. If you guys have any recommendations for great chairs, I'm very interested in that. Last thing, as I close out, baking. I wanted to share one recipe with you all to keep the baking thing going. I didn't talk a lot about that last time, but one recipe that I wanted to share is for lemon almond blueberry loaf. Lemon almond blueberry loaf. You could put that into Google. The person who created this recipe is Yotam Ottolenghi. Very unique name. For those of you who are bakers or cooks, you might be familiar with Yotam Ottolenghi. He's popular, and this blueberry almond lemon loaf recipe is quite possibly my favorite loaf. So I'm talking like, you know, a square, like banana bread kind of a pan. It's very simple. You do need to prepare the pan a little bit. I mean, so you've got to grease it, and then you use parchment paper to line the pan to do like almost like a parchment paper sling. I'm a big fan of that that technique with loaves like that, because last thing you want to have happen is you spend all the time and then you can't get it out of the pan, and it's like it's stuck and like, you know, glued to the pan. That's not good, and it kind of burns the outside. You don't want that. So you should make the recipe though. It's really good. It's you put the blueberries in 2 stages, which is interesting, so you don't end up with all the blueberries sunk to the bottom. So that's one of the things I really like. You also make excuse me, allergies. Hold. Okay. You also make this really lovely and light lemon-infused glaze that goes over the top. It's a huge hit. I really like it. you know, Mike sometimes complains because he's like, this isn't a cookie. I'm like, shh, let me enjoy my loaf. So yeah, lemon almond blueberry loaf, Yotam Ottolenghi. Really, really good. Totally tasty. And I think that might be it. I'm gonna try, so one last thing I'll say before I sign off. I've said that like 18 times, but I really mean it this time. I'm gonna try to have some more interviews. So I mentioned in earlier episodes that I was gonna do that. It's just been a challenge. So I did not have success with the first one, so now I need to figure out like what my strategy is to try again. I've got to schedule, excuse me, the LaCroix. Ooh. I've got to schedule time with my friend Cassie, who's going to be my first like remote interview person. And I just don't want to take up all of her time, like test running these interviews until I figure it out. But that's going to be a part of my my podcast in the future. So yeah. I want to thank all of you for your continued support. Episode 5 is coming. I think that will be from Nashville. If not from Nashville, probably just from here some weekend. I think it will involve some sweaters. I'm going to think some more about additional content. As always, please email me, leave a comment, write me, you know, message me on social media. Let me know what you guys want to hear about. I'm so enjoying doing this. I really, I'm so thankful for all the support that you guys have given me as I have begun this journey. I'm really excited to see where this heads, and I'm wishing you guys, I'm sorry, I'm like playing with the little remote again. This thing is like the worst, by the way. The best and the worst. Like it's not wanting to work right now, which is kind of a bummer because I would like to not have to shut the video off with my finger. Okay, now it's gonna work. So thank you all so much for your continued support. I'm looking forward to episode 5, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Talk soon. Love you guys. Mwah!